Peace, everybody. It's Mumsahani here with Beyond Clouds, and today I'm going to do my second reaction to Alyssa Alleman's three-part series on the interview. His interview with the Ramapough chief, and one of the members of the Ramapough who at least used to be the advisor slash lawyer. So this part of Alyssa's three-part series is titled Investigating the Secret Mountain Colony of Ex-Slaves and Tribal People. And that seems pretty clickbaity, doesn't it? The secret mountain colony. I don't know how secret they are. They roam the world like all the rest of us. But I'm going to link his video in the description bar, okay? And whatever other resources that I might mention in this video that I don't know what I'm going to mention yet, I'll put them down in the description bar too. So starting off, let me remind you that my whole point for this reaction is to show how even now, about 2.5 years later, after the finding of my son Marie Two Clouds Williams's body there on the land, and you can see all that stuff in the first reaction video that I did pertaining to Alyssa's, sorry for messing up your name, but his, again, three-part series. My son was found down on the religious land, that he is the one who secured that land for the Ramapough people because the tribal chief was about to lose it. And that was all the land they had at the time. Now they have dozens more acres of land that my son Two Clouds did the work, the research, all that good stuff. And he fought in court and had it returned to the Ramapough people. Of course, the chiefs are always the figureheads, right? But Two Clouds is the one who did all the work. And so he was found down there, and it's just all the stuff going on that Alyssa has no idea about, honey. People, again, are gaga for Indians for some reason. There are these fetishes that people have for indigenous people, and he's just like, ooh, Indians, let's go talk to them, you know? They speak English. No, I'm joking. But so he went there to talk to them, and he don't know what's going on. But I do, as I said in the first video, the first reaction that I did, I do have issue even with him because Two Clouds' good friend commented under the third part, which is the part that I'm going to react to today, and said you should have asked them about the murder of Two Clouds. And Alyssa almost immediately took that sucker down. So when you read his thread, or you hear all these kudos, oh, thank you so much for showing this video and talking to the people, and I'm Ramapough, and I didn't even know that, and all this kind of stuff, you know, people like Native Americans are so cool and all this kind of thing, because, you know, like, indigenous people are not human beings, apparently. Like some superhumans, right? So yeah, I got issue with him too, but I for sure got issue with the tribal chief. But without further delay, let's get to it.
Oh, here we are inside the community center.
Yes.
All right, so what we got here? The elected Indian chiefs.
Yes.
There's Chief Dwayne.
Yes.
He's right there.
These are other chiefs that have played a major role in the Ramapough history as chiefs along our journey.
Otto Man Jr.
Yes,
He's the only one that gets a name.
Well, yeah, this is Walt Van Dunk as well. He just drove by in the truck.
Yeah.
I can get you the names. This is Redbone, Chief Redbone.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Chief. Who is this guy?
McClendon.
And then this is Tiger, right?
Dude, Tiger's got
Jack
a good hat. How old are these photos?
Oh man, I'd say early 1900s, some of them, some even in the 1800s.
Oh my gosh, look at that. It's incredible. William DeFries.
Yeah, this is Redbone right there. He was a wood carver.
Wow, very talented.
Yeah. And as you know, I'm a Morgan, and my mother's maiden name was Van Dunk.
So that's your family, right there?
Yeah. This is Rebecca Van Dunk Morgan.
And how old's that photo? 19?
Oh, I'd say 1800s.
My gosh.
Then we have William Buffalo Man.
Buffalo Man.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he was in the Civil War.
So right off the back, an issue that I see is that when you go into the tribal office, which looks 1,000 times better because they actually got a grant like 2 days after my son went missing, but they actually got a grant to fix up the tribal office. So it really does look fabulous when you first come in there. But so they have all these pictures on the wall of some of their past chiefs, and which that's awesome. That's important for the people to see, especially the children coming up. And I know that Two Clouds is not an elected chief. However, he was, by all intents and purposes, the true leader of the Ramapough people from when he was there, from 2016 until the end. He was the one who actually fought for them. He was the one who got their land back for them. He was the one who was fighting tooth and nail. Now there, the tribal chief was involved, and Owl was involved and stuff like that. And Ganaguio, who is the Mohawk elder who was there with my son nonstop for like 2 years when he lived on the land, refusing to leave because the Polo HOA there in the town were trying to force them into, really to bend into their will, saying that the Ramapough couldn't pray on is religious land, that they couldn't pray there, that they couldn't have ceremonies there, that they couldn't have more than, X amount of people there, that they couldn't erect, tents. They couldn't do all these things. They couldn't put down mulch on their land. They couldn't grow food there on their land, stuff like that. And, but it was primarily, for sure, without question, and you can go Google Two Clouds Ramapough, Ramapough, and find all these things for yourself. And I'm saying to you, he lectured all over the place and stuff, but he is the one who spoke for the people, who was successful, and even in garnering support for them and respect for them, because for generations upon generations, they did not have respect up there. They were seen, as I've said many times before, as Jackson Whites, which is a demeaning and derogatory term. And so Two Clouds is the one who gave them like a place at the table, like quite literally, things that the respect and stuff that they have now, even for, let's see, Aldermen to even be interested in finding out about these people who were for so long known as being savages and inbreds and all this kind of thing. All these things are because of Two Clouds, because of the work that he did. It just is. Again, this is not a doting mother talking. You can find this stuff out for yourself. And so for him to not have a place, don't have to be among the chiefs because he wasn't elected. So even though he was the for real leader, it wasn't official like that. And I'll touch on that further along in this video. But they don't only have chiefs on the wall, they also have ancestors. Of course, my son is now an ancestor, but again, he did so much for the people that he deserves a place on that wall. Yet he's not there. So again, the pictures are there, the photos are there so that the tribe will remember, so that the children and the youth will remember, and so that they can teach about these people to their children, their descendants. And Two Clouds, who's Two Clouds who?
So how long have you been chief for?
Maybe close to 30 years.
30 years.
I think so.
And were you elected by the members of the community? Is that how it was done?
Times, yeah. I think we haven't had an election now in maybe 12 years, but there's nobody else to run.
Yeah, you become a dictator. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Well, that's nice, right? Donald.
So I'm going to show you real fast. He's going to show you real fast why you cannot just take what he says at face value. Something as simple as how long have you been chief? He says close to 30 years. Close to 30 years. His LinkedIn page, and you can find as many other places on the internet, but on his own LinkedIn page, it says he became tribal chief in 2007. Is that close to 30 years? Let's see. Capital One. Yeah, no, that's not even 20 years. But he says that he's been chief for almost 30 years. Do you understand that this information is something that is easily verified? Just like that. Little quick Google search. But he still says something different. He still says something different. So if he could so easily fabricate an answer about something that can easily be found out that ain't true, and that doesn't warrant fabricating anything in the first place, then what do you think he would do about something that is far more serious than that? Chief Redbone he became tribal chief back in the early 1980s. It may have been around 79 or so, but for sure he was chief in the early 1980s, and he passed away in 2001. What I read is that Chief Redbone was the longest acting tribal chief of the Ramapoughs, at least in modern times. So like, no, he wasn't. And then he goes on in the next segment, one of the next segments, I guess I can mention it here. He goes on in one of the next segments saying how he actually used to work with Chief Redbone. So you can't be working with the chief and you're the chief. It don't happen that way. So no, it's not true. And then he also goes on to say that he was elected, unless he asks him if he was elected chief or something like that, and he said yeah. I don't know, because I wasn't there, but what I will say is that a lot of the tribal members claim, at least, that no, he was not really elected chief, that there was some sort of coup that happened, and he basically took chiefdom. But I don't know for sure. Do your own research. Talk to the Ramapough on your own. But I'm just saying that is something, a history that is with the Ramapough people themselves. The other thing I want to mention is he said that there hadn't been an election in 12 years because there was nobody else to run. That is not true. That is not true. Not only had some people wanted Two Clouds, my son, to become chief, like almost immediately because of the work he was doing. You know, they're like, oh, the chief ain't doing all this, make him chief. And so, but he didn't want to be chief. But so that reality, but also there were others. There were a couple of elders up there who wanted to be chief. And I remember one of them was a woman who, she couldn't stand the fact that there was all this buzz around, you know, people wanting my son to be chief. And initially she was treating him nice until that, and then she started treating him like crap, making rumors behind his back and all these kind of things. And it's because she wanted to be chief. She thought that this young boy who not even from up there just pops up and y'all want him to be chief when I've been here all this time. So that's not true. And I'm sure there were probably more than that who, you know, fancied. Oh, no, for sure. Wait, how could I forget him? There's another who has been wanting to be, I ain't going to mention him because I don't want to embarrass him or anything. But there's a clan chief who has been wanting to be chief for the longest, it seems. And he just can't seem to make it happen. But this is what I'm saying. The point being, it's another lie. It's another lie. Which I suppose to make it seem like I'm such a great chief that There's no one who can. And in fact, he has said that. There's another video that I'm gonna actually do a reaction to that he did about 4.5 months after my son's murder. And again, not one peep about a 2 clouds or any of the work that he did or anything like that. And he's saying on there, like, you know, the Ramapough people need unification. The Ramapough people need the young people to stand up and fight for us. The Ramapough people need a renaissance. The Ramapough people, like, we need a good leader who can take over for me. Because, in other words, I'm so dope, can't nobody do the job I did. Bruh, come on now. And so, you know, just more lies and revisionist history. It's what it is. It's just what it is.
So when you got in 30 years ago, how was the state of the Ramapough at that point compared to today?
Well, I think we were a lot more unified, and there was a lot more of us locally. So, and there was also a lot more social conscious in terms of racism, economically and social was also rampant. And now it's still here, but it's more subliminal.
Yeah, how so?
Well, I think people ain't saying it, but if you're not being employed, or let's say up to 2 years ago, I can say that one of the local school systems were encouraging our kids to drop out of school in 7th or 8th grade.
They were encouraging?
Yeah.
How would they do that? Were they just saying, hey, you don't have a future, like, stop it? Or, like, what were they telling them?
Well, I think go back more than a couple of years ago, if you looked at what happened here in Morwell, they were encouraged to drop out. Everyone that lived up here, we've lost maybe 90+% of the people that lived on Stag Hill. And how did that happen? Well, kids dropped out of school. The town was generous and gave all of the men, older boys, good paying jobs with benefits to work for the town. And like I said, everybody up here owned 3-4 acres.
Yeah.
Then the township changed it's a long-term process. The township changed the zoning to 5 acres per house. Now, working class people are not going to pay for 3 and 4 acres if you can't do anything with it. The idea was for your kid. So when everybody liquidated their property, Morwell changed it back to 1 acre per house. Now you have a land rush with all of these people with these mega mansions.
So it sounds like there's been a very slow push getting you guys out and people coming in. Do I have that right?
Well, I think if that would be your analyst, I would say that Harriet Tubman had said at one point, and you can look it up, that Bergen County was the most dangerous slave county in the country.
Factor in slavery.
So I'm going to start at the end this time to just mention what he said about Harriet Tubman saying that Bergen County was like the worst slave state or whatever. That really seems to be rumor. That doesn't really seem to be like I've looked into it at least, and I haven't been able to find any sources. And I even used AI to look into it, and there doesn't seem to be any like sources really you know, that back that up. I do know I've heard it elsewhere before, but I mean, people think that the Willie Lynch papers are true too, so that doesn't mean just because a bunch of people think something is true don't mean it's true. But the rest of it, him again, you know, Elise asked him, what was it? All right, if there were any changes or what have you for the Ramapough within the last 30 years. And for me, when I listen to the chief speak, first of all, I've never, even when I used to listen to him when my son and he would do lectures together, he does not, and even, you know, when I watch him in interviews and stuff like that with people, and you'll even see it here, like when a question is asked, he doesn't actually answer the question. You can ask about, you know, bananas, and he starts talking about alligators or something like that, and like the interviewers are like look lost, like so what does that have to do with this again? But so I never get anything from like his interviews or anything, and that's not throwing shade. I'm just saying, to me, like, I would never go and listen to a lecture from him or someone who gave talks in the way that he does, because I just don't get anything from it. I don't think that he teaches or educates anyone really. But what I noticed from him, maybe I would say in like every single interview or, you know, talk I've ever heard him give, he always has this victimization thing going on. Oh, woe is us. This is how the people treat us, you know. But he never seems to do anything about it. He never seems to do anything about it. So if he's been chief for 30 years, why? And even if we know he wasn't chief for 30 years, but even in just the less than 20 years that he's been chief, why has there been no real change? Only from when Two Clouds came up there, and during that time, as I've said already, it was Two Clouds who did the work, who was the leader, who implemented change. Tribal chief never did anything. And even now, like nothing viable, I say, for the people. He may have been a figurehead. He may, you know, when they need to talk to somebody, which you didn't even see that a lot before Two Clouds came up there. But if they need to talk to somebody about the Ramapough, they go and talk to him because he's the chief. But he doesn't actually do anything. And the proof of me saying this, or you know what, the evidence I have in this is, he said like 2 years ago, well then he backtracks and said that it was longer than that, I think. But nonetheless, in recent memory, while he has been chief, he said that they are still, the Ramapough youth are still being attacked racially by the school system and being influenced or forced to leave because of all the racism and stuff that they're going through. I don't understand that. If you are, listen, the whole point of a tribal chief, of clan chiefs, of tribal government is to advocate for the people. For sure, that includes your children first and foremost, your children, your elders. But he does nothing. Like he said, you know, I went up there. You went up there and did what? What did you do? Because if this is still a problem, and it's been a problem for decades, for generations, then you, sir, are not doing your job. Like, what is the problem? That all these years they've been up there living, and they are still dealing with the situation. As I said in like another video, I know I spoke on it this past weekend in an interview that I did. Two Clouds, when Two Clouds started Ramapough College, no affiliation with the tribe. The Ramapough tribe is Ramapough, and Ramapough, the town and all that, the institutions and stuff are Ramapo. That's it. So Two Clouds, there was actually a scholarship for Ramapough youth at Ramapough College, where I believe one Ramapough per year can be enrolled in the college on a full 4-year scholarship. And that is not something that the college came up with. One of their, I don't know if he was like a president, I don't remember if he was a president or something like that, but however, he was an affiliate of the college, and decades ago he made this scholarship for the Ramapough youth, and they were not using it. One, maybe two, but one person had used it over the years, like years before Two Clouds came up there. But when he came there, he found out about it and learned that it was not being used, and it was basically shut down. Basically, he made it a point to have it reinstated, which took a lot because the college didn't want to do it. And you know, people be feeling like you giving away, like why they get something for free and can't nobody else get it, all this foolishness. And so the man who made the scholarship, his son was, it's been a long time, he was either the dean or the president. I want to say the president. I don't remember. He was something up there in the college. And his father is the one who actually made the scholarship. And he forced them to reinstate it and to allow Two Clouds into the college. So Two Clouds is actually going to the college on you know, a Ramapough, a tribal scholarship. And so when he first got there, like his first semester, he learned that this teacher who was tenured, she had been working there for years and years, she, a history teacher, she actually had in her curriculum teaching her students that the Ramapough were not true Native Americans, that they were Jackson Whites, which, as I've said, is an extremely derogatory term, and that, you know, like all the stuff that was online and in books and in dissertations and stuff like that, because people have been studying the Ramapough for a very, very long time, and they're just fascinated with them. And you know, she was going along with that whole idea that they were Jackson Whites, that they were mongrels, that they were incestuous, that they were like just crazy stuff, you know. And this is what she was teaching the class. So Two Clouds didn't go off and complain about it. Yeah, you know, they always messing with her. It wasn't doing all that. He petitioned to get that lady kicked out the school for sure. And like I said, she was a tenured professor. So for the tribal chief, to me, for the tribal chief to always be going on and on about these terrible things that are happening to their children and stuff like that, and but not doing anything about it, that to me is absurd. And again, I don't know why they even have him as chief, because like, what are you doing? What are you doing? But yeah, I'll keep my first thoughts to myself.
How do the youth feel about their heritage? Is there pride, or is there more
Well, I think
shame?
there's a pride, but there were diminished.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of pride, but a good example happened in Suffern School maybe 3 years ago. Mother called me. You know, you have that day in school and they go, I'm from Ireland. Everybody goes, oh, I'm from here. So the little kid says, I'm a Ramapough, I'm a Native American. And the teacher included was going, there ain't no Indians around here.
Mm.
Well, think about what that does to a little girl's heart or any other child's heart. That's cruel, as far as I can tell. I did go speak to actually it was quite a long time ago. I did go talk to the school superintendent about it. But the point was, it should never have happened.
I will say, I do agree with him 1,000% that no child should be subject to any of that foolishness. You know, you cannot look at a person all the time and tell who their people are, who their ancestors are. You just can't. You know? People, especially where indigenous people are concerned, people look at indigenous people and base the very limited information that they have about who Native Americans are on that. Like, their limited information is the bar, which is ridiculous. I mean, we could fill this whole country with information none of us have ever heard of, right? But nonetheless, folks keep doing this over and over and over and over again. And indigenous people even do it amongst ourselves. But nonetheless, even if this teacher knew what she was talking about, like for certain, you still don't do that to a child. Shut up. You don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, people can look at me and not even fathom that my father is a very dark-skinned man. Or they can look at my hair and not fathom that, you know, my grandmother is a white woman with straight hair. Or that even my mother was an Afro-Indigenous woman, pale or what have you, with straight hair. They can't tell. People look at me all the time and don't know what the hell I am, because they're basing it on their own limited information. You feel me? And so again, regardless of what the truth is, I certainly am of those who believe no teacher has the right to say anything. Like, just shut up. If it wasn't true or not. I'm sure they got little kids coming up in there because it's probably a predominantly white school. So I'm sure they got kids walking up in there with, like, you know, tutus on and unicorn mats and all this kind of thing. Do you tell a child, you're not a unicorn, you're not a princess? You don't do that because you don't want to hurt the child's feeling. But you will attack a child's lineage not knowing a damn thing one way or the other. You don't know.
just stop you there. When you say portal, what exactly do you mean?
Well, apparently it's a PowerPoint where they say that the sacred people can return through.
Okay. So into like a spiritual, supernatural realm.
Yeah. Historically, and you can look this up, everything I'm saying you can check. Historically, the Ramapoughs were settled disputes among other tribal groups. You can't see it now, but you could go from the Tahiti way, which is split rock, down the hill. There was a big field down here. Now it's sharp, but anyway, it was a big field. Had two long houses. The leadership would go up to up to the Tahiti Way, up to Split Rock.
Yeah.
Come to a decision, come down, the tribal elders would explain the decision, the settlement, people would move forward.
Mm-hmm.
At that same time in history, George Washington also knew, keep in mind, that even though due to the Dutch and a lot of other things going on, and the English, the Ramapough Munsee went from essentially something in the neighborhood of 70,000-80,000 people. Ramapough was the Sweetwater clan of the Munsees. The Munsees was the people of the mountains.
The Munskies.
Munsee.
Okay.
People of the mountains. That means the Adirondacks,
Mm-hmm.
All upstate, the people of the mountains. It did not mean this was a natural redoubt. This was the last place in the area that the people gathered, because obviously you could see they were being pushed around by the Dutch and etc. It was, like I said, it was always used as a place to settle disputes and in prayer.
So in that clip, he is talking about the Tahiti Way, which, as he said, is Split Rock. Split Rock is a spiritual place, and as he said, historically, traditionally, their ancestors would go there and work things out, that's something that they really have gotten far away from, because there is so very much infighting within the Ramapough Nation, and they seem like they can't really work anything out through meetings, like, at all. There's just always such infighting. Personally, I think that the youth needs to be inspired by Two Clouds and use the guidance. He's shown them the way. This is how you can do things to better the tribe, to make things better for them, and all those sorts of things, everything that I've mentioned and whatnot in this video and others. But I truly think that the youth needs to overthrow that pseudo government, which is the leadership of the Ramapough. I'm using leadership very, very loosely here. I truly think that the youth need to get rid of them and they take over, because they're not going to have too much in the coming generations if they don't do something. I think that and I know some of the inner workings that a lot of other members in the tribe just don't know, because for me being on the other side with my son, and even afterwards still sort of being in the know, and they really need to. And I know outsiders, non-Ramapough, who do things with the Ramapough, who also tell me stuff. So I truly think Two Clouds was not murdered for no reason, y'all. And if they couldn't handle one Two Clouds, what they going to do with 50? So I really think the youth should really study my son and build off that. But so that's the one thing with that. The other thing about Split Rock is this: when the Mamos came up, the Mamos are indigenous people from what we call Colombia in South America, and they are a very, very spiritual people. They're spiritual leaders. And so when they came up there to the mountain, and I don't remember, it might have been about 2018, maybe 2017, but when they came up there and they did tell them that this is one of the portals, they also, this is true, a couple of them took my son to the side to talk to him specifically, and said that one of their elders had a dream vision, and told them to bring word to Two Clouds himself. I'm not going to tell you what they said, because that's personal and sacred. However, I will say this: they told him that what he was doing was actually sent from the ancestors. It was supposed to be. That was his mission. And you know, we were like tripping, like, wait, what? Because who knew that anybody in South America even knew about the two clouds, right? But again, their elder had this vision and said, go and tell him this. And you know, that's one of the things that let him know that he was on the right track. But you know, it ain't like he told a whole bunch of people this, so this might be a revelation. Well, I'm sure this is a revelation for many people, but I'm not the only one who knows. But so yeah, that happened. The other thing dealing with Split Rock is they now have that back, and it's because the Land Conservancy of New Jersey did a fundraiser, and they raised like $300,000, a little bit more than $300,000, and they bought that land back. It's like 54 acres or something like that of land. So it's not only the rock, it's like all the nature, the land around it. They bought it and then they gifted it to the Ramapough, i.e. they gave them back their shit. But they don't make it seem like that. They're like, you know, we're giving this back to them because this is the right thing to do and all this kind of thing. Yeah, it's the right thing to do. But guess what else is the right thing to do? Because people will get all, you know, bigged up and feeling like, yeah, that was great. And you know what, people might feel, the folks who did it, I'm sure will probably feel really happy and like, yeah, we did a good thing. But from my perspective, this is my perspective. My perspective is, yeah, you gave back 54 acres and how do you say? Well, they gave them back something that is spiritual for them. And again, that actually belongs to them. They gave it back. But if you want to seem impressive, so they gave back that 54, but the tribal office where they are in this video is on a road called Stag Hill Road. At the top of Stag Hill Road, the same organization has what is now about, last time I looked, it was about 92 acres that they bought and didn't give back to the Ramapough people. They bought and they have made it into a reserve. So miss me with you doing something special. So I'm gonna give you this little bit because this is your land and we should have never took it. But you're gonna keep the other land, and not to mention further, what is connected to that land is what is like 4,200 acres that again ain't nobody giving back to the Ramapough. If you really trying to front like you're doing something good and you're, you know, you're respecting and honoring indigenous people and the indigenous people specifically of New Jersey and right there, whatever, then give them back all their shit. How about that? Like, stop playing games. The 4,200 acres is the Ramapough, R-A-M-A-P-O, not the tribe, but Ramapough, they call it Ramapough Reservation, but in a sense of like a state park, you know? So give them back everything. Like, stop playing these games. This is what them folks do. So that's with that. And the other thing, which I may have mentioned in the first part of this reaction, part one that I did, now the Land Conservancy of New Jersey has been working or talking or whatever with the Ramapough over the past like decade or more, but they haven't actually like done anything. But I will say this, they gave that land back to them about maybe a year-ish after the murder of my son. It so happens that Two Clouds, they used to actually use Two Clouds as a consultant, and because he knew the land there so well, the you know, the Ramapough land there, not just what they've been given back, like all of it. And so he knew where different trails were. He knew where different villages used to be of his ancestors. He knew different waterways and things like that. And so they would come to him for, you know, for nasiha, for for knowledge and about the place, so that they could survey it, you know. And so these people actually worked with two clouds. He was actually involved with them. And so who's to say? I don't know. But these are truths. Yes, sir.
So getting to it, one of the things that I was talking with Vincent Al about that is been notorious in the names carried with the Ramapough is the term the Jackson Whites.
Right.
And I want to dispel whatever the notion is. Why did this occur? How did this occur? And what's the story behind it?
I can't really tell. Only thing I can start to imagine is probably is that, well, number one, it had to do with land. But let me also say this just about being a Native American. This is New York. This is about land and money and power.
Yeah.
Let's get real. Who is more beautiful, as a good example of just culturally, natives all over the world wear what is germane to their environment. Mm-hmm. Now, you're out west, who has got more beautiful regalia than these brothers with the bonnets, the horses, who looks more beautiful? Plus, that's who we've all learned to be, Indians.
Yeah.
Think about the three greatest war chiefs of the West going out back there with them bonnets on. That looked like the Three Stooges going through them damn bushes. Mm-hmm. You know? So that's been an ongoing problem here. The population in general was always saying, what kind of Indians are you? Where's your headdresses? All due respect, ain't nobody give a damn if you're an Indian in Montana. For what? 2 houses in New York, you could buy your own reservation? How do you think these people come up here on this mountain all of a sudden with a land rush? But the whole idea with racism is people have leveraged that racism to humiliate, to subjugate, and to take their land, take our land.
So that's the term of the Jackson White. It was brought up for that.
That's what. Well, what else would it be for? You know, and the fact is, yes, come towards the early 1900s or so, yes, people start marrying outside your tribe. You run out of people over time.
Yeah.
You know, but think about it. Should I come up with a name for people with different European origins?
Yeah.
And then let's start denying them jobs and education and employment.
Yeah, that's just overt racism when that happens.
So, I mean, that's what they've done. And when you use that type of term, you humiliate people to where they don't want to aspire. That's really
When did that term come up, Chief?
I don't know. Yeah, it had to be. I didn't really hear about it. It must have been in the early 1900s.
Because today you hear it in like pop culture. Like I'm watching Sopranos and they mention the Jackson Whites in the show, and you hear it in just forums when you read about it. And I'm like, wait, isn't this the Ramapough Native Americans? And I had to look into it, and I was like, wait, is this accurate? Like I couldn't tell if this was myth or if there was some truth to this, and they were running with it.
This is more than important, and I think it should go on whatever media outlet you may have or anybody else, and I'm not the first one to say it. Other people have pointed it out. I would assume the most vicious, lethal, and dirtiest racist are academicians. Educators making believe they've done a scholarly study. A good one was Mr. Cohen.
So these people are talking about the Jackson Whites.
Well, he wrote a whole thing about Jackson Whites, but what he did was, and I was in high school then, he sat around with our elders at the time. We had a lot of, they used to do the weekends. They would get together and just like now, and just tell stories and lies and laugh. He recorded those stories as like something we thought was real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then he did all this inbred stuff. All he is a racist. He got his PhD from being a racist.
Yeah.
You know? And I've gone down to his little school there, and at the time, Rutgers, they wanted to deny him. I'm wondering if we shouldn't revisit him now. But he's already been more than disproved. But there's people like that, and not just with the tribal people. Think about it. This is still about land and money. You know, it's still about money, and we're pretty well at the end of it now. And what I call quiet genocide.
Okay, what do you mean by that, quiet genocide?
What I mean is we've been under constant social and economic restraints for the last over almost 200 years. Here's a good one. Does anybody know what the violence study is?
No.
No, but you know about Jackson Weiss, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about some dangerous academic crackers. The violence study was financed by the Ford people. Nobody wants to say nothing about the Ford Foundation because the Fords, I guess, in modern time, they're great people.
So there, the tribal chief is asked about the term Jackson White, and you know, he's saying basically that he believes the term probably came about as a means to, as part of a means to disenfranchise, I guess, the Ramapough people, and to have them feel, you know, sort of downtrodden and things of that nature. And you know, it's connected to that, he thinks that is most likely connected to the town, the state, what have you, taking the land, getting their claws into the land and being able to take it away by giving them jobs and taking them away from the land and things like that. But what was very interesting, quite interesting to me, is when he says, you know, this is New York. It's where they are is New Jersey, but there are basically 3 communities of Ramapough. They are in New Jersey, the Wolf Clan, and then the others, Ringwood and Hillburn, New York. So he said New York because he just talked about the whole of it. And Ramapough is right basically at the border of New York. So like Suffering is just about 5 minutes, no, yeah, maybe 5-10 minutes away from where they are, I guess, something like that. But what stands out to me is when he says that New York, you know, he says, come on now, like, this is New York. It's all about land, money, power. Land, money, power. Land, money, power. That's interesting because we know that a major reason why my son was murdered was over the land that he got back for the people. And I won't go a whole bunch into that because, you know, we are building the case, and so I can't say but so many things. But I will say that some of the Ramapough people actually have a petition on change.org, and it's been up for a little while. They have a petition on there because they believe that the tribal chief has been laundering money and misappropriating, I think is the term they use, misappropriating the land. And so this is a very real thing that's happening, and it's public. It's not something I'm coming up with. It's public. And so I found that very interesting for him to say that, and, you know, knowing what's going on and what, you know, some members of the tribe are singing and stuff like that.
So one of the things I do want to get to is the current state, like the biggest, how would you call it, like the biggest hill the Ramapough are trying to climb right now. What is the current, like, thing you guys are dealing with?
I think the biggest thing in my mind is we need to exhibit unity because we're being pushed around by other cultural groups that are also parading behind, have been very successful.
Like whom?
Well, I don't even know who they are, but there's some groups, I don't even know exactly who they are. I just know that they propagate, I think, anger, and then the minute you say something to them, they say, oh, you're anti-Semitic.
So which groups are you mentioning that
I'm
are saying
not
this?
sure it is. I don't want to really get on film without having, but there is.
You don't want to offend any groups.
Yeah, I don't mind offending them, but I want to make sure I'm offending the right people.
Gotcha.
But there is a group that seems to propagate disdain, and that are also by other groups, the other spiritual groups that are in the same. They don't like other Jewish people. They don't like anybody else. They act very nasty and naughty. But if you say something, the minute you say something about the negative behavior, then you're anti-Semitic, and then everybody goes like this. I think it's time people got to reality. It ain't about nothing to do with your religion. It's got to do with your behavior. If you're acting like a dirtbag, you're a dirtbag.
Yeah. So with this,
Don't be trying to hide out.
how does this relate to the current struggle of the Ramapough in the current state?
Well, I'm seeing at Hillburn, we're sort of being pushed around with, I don't want to go into details. I'd like to find out. It just looks like we're just in a lot of competition. I'll leave it that way.
Competition with other groups that you feel like they're getting more funded, gain more attention, and
Well,
you
I
guys
think
are being
if you
pushed
got a
out?
bigger population, if you got a bigger population and more money, then I think what's happening is we're getting pushed out just by that.
So in this last clip, this tribal chief is asked, what is the number one, what is the number one issue that he believes the Ramapough have right now in regards to progress? And he says unification, which I find absolutely laughable. But he says unification, and then he goes on to talk, again, victimizations. He goes on to talk about these phantom groups whom he cannot name, and like he doesn't know who they are, he doesn't know what they're doing. However, he believes that probably they are doing something to push the Ramapough out, and that if they say something to these people whom he does not know who they are, or if they're doing anything at all, so I'm not sure who they're talking to, but he says if you say something to them, they accuse you of being anti-Semitic. Again, like with the victimization and just pulling these things, it seems, sort of out the air. And like I said, he's just not the type of person who I would like go to hear a lecture expecting to get some sort of wisdom or even clear-cut information, So that's what he says. But out of the entire video, and please do go and watch the whole thing yourselves, out of the whole video, he not once mentioned Two Clouds. And as I said in the first part, my first reaction to this 3-part series, there were plenty of times where he could have just mentioned Two Clouds. Like nothing major. Being that Two Clouds is the reason why they have such a better situation going on for themselves. Well, all of the, victimizations and things that, he says is going wrong, it's 1,000% better than it was before Two Clouds came up there. Really. So far as allyship, so far as them having assets. Now they have millions of dollars in assets that they did not have before Two Clouds came and fought and won. Hopefully it'll still be there for the next generation. But there's never ever, per the title of this video, there's never ever any talk of Two Clouds, no mention of him, no gratitude, no nothing. Like, even if it's not even in the way of gratitude, there's no mention of him. And we're talking about a great leader of theirs who, is part of their tribe. No mention. No mention. So I bet you if they had a George Washington or Lincoln or somebody like that, they'd be like, yeah, George Washington is with us. So where's Two Clouds at? especially since they never had a two clouds. Not no time, not in the 20th to 21st century. Again, they had good chiefs, from what I understand. You know, including Chief Redbone. Chief Redbone, his fight was for federal recognition. You know, him you know, really trying for years and years and years to get that for them, which is still, you know, it's like a unicorn, something that they just can't seem to obtain. And it's not their fault, really. I've seen the papers myself from the Bergen County freeholders, and they said outright they're not giving them federal recognition. Or, well, they sent the letter to the BIA, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and this is back in the 90s. And they sent this to them, and they said they were asking that they did not give them federal recognition because that would give them the ability to open a casino, and they don't want a casino in Bergen County because it would not be good for you know, the lifestyle of the people to have a casino there. This is in writing. This is in writing. And so it's been extremely hard for them to get this. You know, they keep pushing them back, saying that they don't have enough criteria to prove that they are indigenous people because, like most of us, like most people, they are mixed race. And of course, Donald Trump was one of the idiots fighting hard against them getting recognition also, because again, that would mean that they would be able to open a casino. And of course, Donald Trump didn't want that because he had the whole casino game sold up down in Atlantic City. So yeah, this is a real thing. But again, if it was up to them, total erasure of two clouds. Total erasure of two clouds. He is, you know, that guy is the tribal chief. And again, the whole point of having chiefs and a council and clan mothers and all that is to advocate for the people, to advocate for the tribe. Yet, with all that Two Clouds did for them, none of them have spoken about Two Clouds publicly at all, with the exception of Owl, which only says something publicly in that video, the first video that I reacted to, that Alicia Alleman made. And it was like way at the end, basically way at the end of the video, while they are walking about the land that Two Clouds is the one that saved that land for them, because the tribal chief was holding on to that by the skin of his teeth, and they were about to actually take it, the Polo HOA, because that land where they are is smack dab in the middle of a very wealthy community. It's like mansions all around there. And the reason they had that land, even then, the Ramapough, the reason why they even had the land in the first place, well, after it was stolen from them, is because the guy who bought all that land, the land developer, and put all those, you know, mansions and everything, polo club and everything there, that portion of the land, which is almost 14 acres, it floods because there's like a bank or a cove right there, which is where they dumped Two Clouds' dead body. But from like a what do you call, like runoff basically from the actual big Ramapough River, and so it floods there, so you couldn't do anything with it. And so he decided to give it to the Ramapough, give it back to the Ramapough, because he said, like, you know, they seemed like they were nice people, they would always come down here, they didn't cause any trouble. So he was just like, let me just give it to them. So yeah, that's what's happening. It's crazy. We are fighting against all this, and working diligently to get several of them arrested and thrown in jail for the rest of their lives. yeah. So please do like, subscribe, share. Go on ahead and check out those videos that Anidohi Alderman did if you are interested to see the full videos. And please do, if you believe that they are indeed working to erase Two Clouds, work and his legacy and his existence, for sure, if it was not up to me, he wouldn't even be talked about, like, ever. After that first couple of days when everybody, after the first, let's say a little less than a week, after everybody, you know, got over their shock that he was dead and all that kind of thing, aside from little, you know, random, quick little posts people make here and there saying, I miss him so much or whatever, you would hear nothing about him. For sure, nobody would be fighting for him, like nobody. So if you believe that he deserves justice, that he deserves an investigation, that he deserves to not be forgotten and to continue to live his work through us, we are Two Clouds' legacy, you know. And for us, especially for Afro-Indigenous people and for Afro-Indigenous children, they need to know. They need to know about their leaders, the leaders who came before them. And, you know, they need to have their own heroes. And so it's extremely important, you know. Two Clouds can inspire nations and generations. And we need to remember that, and we need to help him continue to do his job. So if you believe that, when and if you go to Anidohi Alderman's videos, do me a favor, do Two Clouds a favor, and hashtag justice, 4, Two Clouds, and hashtag no Indian erasure. Okay? Check y'all later. Stay informed at beyond-clouds.org/blog. On our YouTube channel, youtube.com/beyond-clouds6745, and on TikTok, tiktok.com/@beyond_clouds, 7_3. Peace, y'all.